It's a rendering of how they anticipate laying things out. So if there's any other questions, I'm more than willing to answer them for you.
Quickly, there's 20 ADUs and like 82 units. And you said they're all individually metered, so
That's correct.
ADUs as well.
Correct.
And it's a 5-acre project, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and there's also like a variety of old private wells on there.
That'll be a condition of the will serve that those be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the rest of the property, it's like a 30-acre parcel. So there's more land that they may develop in the future.
I saw the map, yeah.
And if they're able to do a lot line adjustment or something, currently the way they've laid it out, all the wells would need to be destroyed because there are wells spread out.
Is the developer willing to do that change on the tie-in?
We haven't discussed that with the developer yet, but I would be very surprised if they weren't willing to do that. It's a simple approach. It's cost effective, and we don't have to put a separate water main in, which would have been the original plan for this development prior to the Gunnison Well raw water main.
And so then the water use estimated is 15 acre feet per year. Like, that's for the current proposed development. But what would happen if there was an expansion in future years?
Yeah, I don't know what the future holds for outside of this area.
Does it become a significant? Does it have a significant impact on our production wells?
If what you might be able to do is extrapolate, if they're able to fit 102 units in 5 acres and they have 30 total, you can kind of figure what they may be able to do. Of course, it's limited to, the sewer system capacity and the drainage system, the storm drain and other impacts. So no one has brought up the future, other phases or anything.
And that would also require to come back to the board for consideration of approval.
Oh, for sure. But I think once development is in, we've all seen there's pressure to just continue the expansion. I was just wondering what the impact on the district would be, and whether we plan that way.
Well, the water main in Gunnison is a 12-inch water main. And it was sized that way, I think, back in the day when we knew we were going to put a well in. So that works out. I think the system can handle it. I think there is capacity available. But at this stage, we're just discussing the 100 units.
So there's ADUs and townhouses. That's confusing to me. So what's the relationship between the townhouse and the ADU? They're accessory dwelling units to a townhouse? Or
apartments?
Is it just they're really small and they call them ADUs, but they're not?
Well, there's 82 units and 20 ADUs.
Right.
They don't all have them.
No, but this is...
I think the way that in California now, based upon the new regulations with ADUs, setbacks, et cetera, I think it can be qualified as an ADU based upon criteria.
Even can it exist by itself, I think, is maybe what
that's
Director Jaffe is asking, and I don't know the answer to that.
So it's not an accessory dwelling unit, it's a dwelling unit. But I guess it qualifies as being accessory, so that's kind of confusing to me.
And I don't know if
there's different rules that we may apply in the future to ADUs and non-ADUs.
So when you look at the map, I'm not sure what those little yellow things are, but there's 22 of those.
And those are the ADUs in the map, the yellow.
So they are attached. They're like,
Yeah, page 195 of the 195 of the.
So there's
Good catch. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't see this. The legend does say they're EDUs.
We can request clarity from the developer and report back on some of the questions, but I think absent change at the county, and Shelley, correct me if I'm wrong, ADUs would not be able to be transferred separately, although that may change based on recent state law that we've seen.
Okay.
Yeah, in the legend, they say primary unit and then ADU. So I think like in this instance, this would be the primary unit and this would be ABU for that unit, and it would be owned by the same owner. But we can verify that.
Yeah, that'd be good just to bring back. That's not going to change
No.
my decision. I mean, we're in a situation now with Pure Water Soquel coming online that 15 acre feet is not the concern it was a year ago, or certainly 5 or 10 years ago.
This will be a couple of years down the road before there's a water demand, most likely. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I was just mildly curious about the riparian area that I just didn't pay attention to. I was looking at what's that? The riparian is what's it riparian?
There's a gulch that goes right down through there.
Just that gulch.
Yeah, and each of the lanes, they're listed lane A, B, C, D. Those would all have water mains, new water mains running through them. And meters would be located within the facility or the development.
I mean, I guess my only comment, we're so used to smaller developments, but I think with the demand on our housing and with the number of units that are supposed to be in the not unincorporated area, I mean, this is where things are going.
This is a drop in the bucket.
I mean, Cabrillo's is 300 and
624.
bed.
625, I
Yep.
think.
So
I think we always just try to inform customers and the community too that we're a water district where we're having to meet the planned growth. We're not controlling the growth. This is part of what the county has identified. I do want to acknowledge, I think that the design proposed to feed this area off of a higher pressure water main than a lower pressure is smart. We do get a lot of complaints of people when they have low water pressure, and the only thing that they can do is to have a separate booster. So.
well,
Yeah, and we, yeah. Our meeting water demand is contingent upon it being sustainable, in my mind, and it not having an adverse effect on the health of the aquifers. So, I don't think 15 acre feet will make a big difference. Cumulative.
I know. We'll need to keep an eye on things. for
Yeah.
sure.
And just one more question about the ADUs. So they're going to be sold they're going to be part of that townhouse that's there.
We can verify that, but that's my assumption.
Okay. They're not like little apartments. And so they'll be separately metered, but still attached.
And I think we have some ADU discussions coming up in the future with what should be separately metered and what shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any motions then?
Well, I'll move, I guess, to approve the,
Public comment.
I don't know the.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, we do have somebody here.
We have a
I
public.
looked up and there's
Commenter.
somebody else. Did you? Any public comment on this issue? Sorry about that. It was empty a minute ago.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I move to authorize the issuance of the district standard conditional well syrup. As long as we're not worried about the water.
Anybody second?
Looks like I'm going to be the seconder. I second.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Motion carries. 3-1.
Jennifer, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm just curious what the nay is about. Okay.
I know you guys can carry it.
And I remember we used to have a board member who used to do
Yes,
that all the
I know.
time.
Yes.
He's my friend.
Okay.
And mine too, but yeah, we're just
All right.
was
So
worried about that.
we are skipping item 6.2 until March 4th.
Go carried it.
And the next item is plans and specs for Monterey Avenue main replacement.
Yeah, last August, this is down right here in the village of Capitola, near Britannia Arms, and the restrooms. In August, there was a cast iron main that broke and causes quite a disturbance to the village. And we got on it. It wasn't part of our CIP. It wasn't anticipated that we would do this, but it is very high pressure. It's down at sea level, so it's 100 plus psi down here, and so as to not have a future, catastrophic break, we're going to be proactive and replace about 400 feet of that cast iron and replace it with some PVC pipe. So this is just to call for bids. We'll bring them back for you to consider awarding a project. The goal is to get this all done before Memorial Day, when a lot of the summer tourism happens.
Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, any board questions or discussion?
I think it's great that we're being proactive, know that there's a problem, potential problem. So when that main broke, I forget how much water was lost, roughly.
I think we were notified very quickly, and I think our crews were like around the corner. So I don't believe it was a big water loss per se.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot worse if it was at night.
Sure.
It did make social media because there was somebody in the area that I remember taking pictures.
Well,
I didn't see it. Was there a geyser or something?
No,
Wasn't that?
there wasn't a geyser, but it obviously there was water in the street. I think what was of noteworthy in that was that our crews were able to fix it. It was on a Friday afternoon, and there was going to be, I think, a movie night down in the village. So
oh, no. Timing.
Any other questions?
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, both motions, I assume.
Yes, both, sorry.
1 and 2.
All right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All righty. Next item is our LAFCO regular member and alternate member vote. Is there any intro on this?
yeah, I'll do a quick introduction. As you note in the board packet tonight, we have a nomination and a vote for the special district member of LAFCO. Currently, there are 2 seats that are being open for a vote. One is a regular and one is an alternate. As you can see in the packet, there are 3 candidates running for the special district regular member seat: Jim Anderson, Lonnie Faulkner, and Tony Nunez. There's also the alternate seat that is available, and there are 5 candidates that are running: Jim Anderson, Ed Banks, Lonnie Faulkner, Alina Lang, and Tony Nunez. Inside the packet, there's obviously some additional information that Joe Serrano provided. And I did just want to note that we also have another special district member seat, which is occupied by our own Rochelle Lather. It was brought to my attention, I think, by one of the board members that typically there is 1 seat that is a water district representative, and then another person that is a representative from a different special district. So if you have any questions, but we also have a guest who would like to speak and address the board.
This is the perfect time.
Good evening, board members.
Is it on?
It might not be on.
I'm not sure if it's on.
Great. Good evening. Thank you so much for the time. I'm not going to give a long speech. I wanted to just come and see if anyone had any questions. I don't know if that's par for the course with the Brown Act, but just give a little overview. I know you've received both the application and my follow-up letter talking about my experience and my broad experience, actually, I think, which brings a lot of different aspects to a role as a commissioner with LAFCO, including agricultural experience, scientific and medical experience, as well as governance and just a lot of different aspects. And so it would be an honor and a pleasure to have the honor of your vote, if you so please. And of course, any other questions. I think one of the big important roles of LAFCO is we are facing so many challenges in our communities and across our communities, meeting fire needs, water needs, annexations and things that might come in the future if that's proposed. But I think especially when we talk about water needs and addressing fire needs across the community, there's a lot of issues that we'll be looking at in the coming years. So I'll end there. Thank you.
I just had a question about you said agricultural experience. I guess I can't remember what I read about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I grew up in an agricultural community, and that was really core to my experience growing up. So I actually had my own vineyards. I raised animals. We were involved both agriculturally. I was a student at UC Davis. I got my master's and my undergraduate there. So I worked with sturgeon, and so really incorporated and learned aspects of the importance of water. We also had wells on our property, and so really understanding the importance of just being aware of water science and the availability. Thank you.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, that, I met Lonnie I think it was a year or more ago. She was actually at when we had the event where you had the kombucha from Pure Water, Soquel, and Harvest Festival. Anyway, I've found that Lonnie is comes at problems with the scientific approach and is very concerned for the community. So I think she'd be a good LAFCO member.
Yeah, I also got the pleasure of meeting Lonnie at the Women's Democratic Club meetings and got to speak with her personally and was very impressed and think she'd be an excellent LAFCO member.
I will just mention that serving on LAFCO, I did also serve with Jim Anderson, who seemed always like he was on top of it and did a good job as well. He's from a fire district, Belton, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we have,
I take it we don't vote. We wouldn't
We have
vote
one-
for the same person for the two. The alternate.
You could.
could,
You could.
I was thinking maybe, I had one idea, this is not a motion yet, but just throwing it out there of maybe Lonnie for the regular, and maybe Jim Anderson as the alternate, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, just switch it up.
Just switch it up.
That would be good. Yeah. Well, I'll make that motion that we have Lonnie Faulkner for the regular board member, and that we vote for Jim Anderson for the alternate board member.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Go get him, Lonnie.
Yeah.
You're up.
It's really a good organization. I enjoyed serving on it for my time there, and I think you learn a lot, and there's a lot of important decisions to make to try and preserve open space and ag land and do it in an organized way. So it's good. So shall we move on then to item 6.5?
Sure. Emma, did you want to tee this one up, or would you like me to? Okay.
I was cleaning up.
And if you have to go, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to everything.
Yeah.
I think we have a follow-up letter we'll send out to LAFCO on that. So item 6.5 is an item that is being brought forth to the board on a periodic basis. Back in February, we had addressed the special assignment with the board, this list, kind of as a way to take a moment. This is an item that is in the packet each month, but by bringing it back specifically as an agendized item, we're able to discuss with you if there are things that you want to identify to either add, edit, omit. Previously, we've had items that were on this list for a very long time, and it's also a time where the board can give us some direction that maybe we can take an item off. Obviously, there may be an item here that has been here for a while and you want to discuss and see what the status is. We obviously try to prioritize and identify items to the board that either align with items and priorities that are underway with existing projects, programs, and activities. We're also trying to always be mindful of the district's strategic plan, our work plan, and then just the staffing resources that we have at the district. So I'm going to pause there, and obviously we can discuss or address anything on this list that you'd like to talk about.
I don't think we have any public anymore, so I will say that we do not need to request public comment. So, board thoughts?
Yeah. So there's one item on there that stands out as being something that was added to the list a long time ago. The item on the aquifer indicator. And both Director Daniels and I had asked for something. So just to clarify, what I envisioned was maybe like a thermometer by the district headquarters, and showing what sustainability would be, however we define it, and then where we're at relative to that. So it's not an easy thing necessarily to convey. I'd be willing to pull this, and if an idea for how to convey the situation pops up, we can put it back on the list or agendize it. I don't know if the other board members.
I mean, I was at a public advisory committee meeting one day when this was being discussed, and people were having trouble, honestly, figuring out how that would look. It was just, a lot of thought went into it, and I think Becca
Had a
came up with some
thermometer, a couple
ideas.
different thermometer ideas.
Yeah, and for one reason or another, none of them seemed right. Maybe it's because it's trying to simplify a complex thing. I don't know.
Right.
I was at that meeting too, and I think it went at February 7th, 2017, just about 8 years ago.
8 years, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time. It made more sense. We were in the middle of a big drought, and we didn't know how much water was in the aquifer. There were a lot of uncertainties and how much it was being replenished, especially in a prolonged drought like we had experienced. But the general feeling I got at the advisory committee too, well, I added to it. I thought it was an obsolete idea. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And I thought there were some other ways to we're looking for sustainability, and I wasn't sure I wanted to talk about this now because I haven't heard anything since that advisory meeting, which was last year too. So that's not even that up to date. Maybe steps, the golden steps to sustainability, or some other thing that incorporates more of the complexities of what we're trying to do, but still getting that elevation.
Well, I still think it's a very hard concept,
Mm-hmm.
and but I think it's a very important concept that just because we have pure water Soquel doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to be able to be sustainable. We think we will, but it's not proven. And just to simplify things, when it rains, people think we have a lot of water. Our highest water use ever was during the El Nino year of 80 years of 82, 83, which is kind of crazy because you knew there was a lot of water then for outdoor use, which is it wasn't required as much.
You have to water.
Landscape, but still, I think people's were just thinking, hey, we got lots of water. We don't have to be careful with it at all. So I think
I agree. I think the awareness is still important. Are we there or not? I just don't know how to do it.
I know. So
I think that's why it's in the drawing board.
yeah.
It is. I think it's going to be discussed at a future
So
advisory committee meeting and get some ideas on it.
so do you want to keep it on the list, or do you want to?
I'm okay with it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
still think it's a good goal.
yeah.
So we don't know how to achieve it yet.
Gotcha.
Well, the goal is great, but maybe the indicator is the wrong way to approach it, So giving leeway to the public advisory or other people that want to take it on to be more creative, to brainstorm it, that might have a better outcome.
I think there'll be several stabs at it anyway, too, because it is really. I was afraid initially that if we had the thermometer there, there's a lot of people in this district who think that way. They start looking like, well, what is that? That's a thermometer. That's temperature. That's not.
Yeah.
But it could be like
They would just start getting all squirrely in their brains.
it'll go, I agree, it's going to take some thought, but I mean, to me, it still could relate to protective levels and how many,
just needs
wells
to-
are there and how many aren't, or
Verticality.
something like that,
Verticality is
Yeah.
good, but
Yeah.
it just needs a different metric, I guess.
I like the input, and it's also one thing to note is that the MGA is also considering this. There is, John Kennedy is also very interested in some sort of indicator or chart.
So
we won't kill that one.
yeah, this is. Tell me if I'm off base here, Josh, discussing this, but this could be a contest thing for high school or junior high or
You're asking,
college. Yeah,
but you're asking people who don't know that much about water. I guess they could.
but they would learn about it and
Study.
and they might have actually better ideas than some. But that's just a thought, nothing that we have to act on.
But to go back to the general thing, I don't mind if that's on there.
Okay.
I like looking at those, and I appreciate it if like was added to the indicator. Was referred to the public advisory committee. It has some updating, and it's a convenient way to update some of these random things that not random, but comments that we've asked for. I don't. Is there a reason to change it?
We're just it's only coming to us once a year, so we give it this thought.
Oh,
Not that we have to pull things off, it's just, my only comment was just that they don't all have an estimated completion time. So even if it's just a range or a ballpark, I think they should all have some kind of, instead of just nothing. Instead of just when it was added, it should say, could be,
And that can be updated as
Yeah.
new information.
Yes, when there's information, it looks like there is information.
anything else?
Who's in charge of, is that you, Melanie?
Ideally, ideally, how we would propose addressing some of these items, obviously, is for staff and the board president to identify kind of what's kind of on the plate or priorities for staff to work on. And then if there is something that is timely, either with some other activity that's going on, we may try to address this. Or if there's something that maybe we can identify would come with another item. So for example, I know that there is a discussion on the emergency response plan. That is something that we need to update, periodically based on state and federal regulations. And then we may be able to tie in a discussion such as, related to, I think, there was interest on, the plastic pipe and with the integrity of the district system, especially during a natural disaster. So that would be where we would work on trying to, incorporate items with something else.
But I agree with Tom's comment that some of these have, to be determined on them, and maybe that should be added to all of them, that you don't know roughly when things are happening or
Sure.
could happen. And the ones, others, you do have an estimate of the completion. So, yeah, I do like that the new ones are in red. That always helps to have it.
The only other thing is, are we keeping you had mentioned that rebate for the flow shutoff one. Are we keeping that one on there?
I don't think we need to myself.
Okay. And I don't think this requires any motion, does it?
It doesn't require motion, but you can if you'd like. Otherwise, consensus works.
So,
I don't think we need
all right, we're good?
Yeah.
We can. So then, let's see. We've got to go to item 4.11. And I think, Carla, did you pull that?
Yeah, and the reason I did, I just saw that little one-liner about appointing an investment advisory committee with at least 3 other district employees to advise the co-plan administrators regarding investment of the plan's assets. I thought that's a good item to discuss, but I was curious. I was just wondering whether the board should participate in that plan board, or at least sit in it, just because we don't have any involvement. We don't have a plan with the district or anything, but it might be impartiality. But we are going to JPIA meetings and things like that. I didn't know what I thought one of the reasons it wouldn't happen is that there was some regulation barring that.
Yeah. So no, it absolutely can be set up that way. The reason staff's recommending that we not have it at a board level committee is because if it is a board level committee or includes board members, it's subject to the Brown Act. And from staff's perspective, but of course this is subject to board oversight and direction. This is the type of decision-making body that, while transparency is generally very important in most situations, it may be less of a concern in this type of situation, and actually maybe the flexibility of being able to make decisions and act without the strictures of public posting of agendas and that sort of thing would be beneficial. So the real rationale for the change is exactly that. By changing this from a board level body to a staff driven body, it's no longer subject to the Brown Act and has more flexibility.
So when it says changing from the district as a designated plan administrator, was that kind of non-specific?
Exactly, yeah. So because it currently reads district, that means the board. you know, because you're the governing body. By changing it to specifically two staff members, then it becomes a staff-driven body, and there's more flexibility in how it can operate.
And it seems like there's broad powers in this. It's very important. Am I misreading it? You know, what on what the powers of the general manager and the HR person would be? What can they and can they not do related to this?
Like what's practically, what is the practical aspect of what kind of decisions they'd make?
Yeah.
You want to? David's been taking this on. This was something that Tracy had set up with Ron about a year ago, where we brought in a financial advisor to assist us. So Nationwide has been the long-standing record keeper of our 457 or deferred comp, and they've recently brought in a financial advisor.
Can I just quick stupid question? 457, is that kind of like a 401k for public employees?
Right.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is David Taras, as HR manager. The reason why we brought this forward is to allow for the opportunity to have basically an employee committee to look at this as well. I anticipate in the future, to answer your question, that we would have presentations that might come before the board regarding some of the discussions, maybe some of the decisions that are made, so that there wouldn't be a complete elimination of any sort of board review, but it allows for, I'd say, frank discussions regarding maybe some of the needs of the employees in regards to the deferred comp. But it does provide, the ability for the general manager and the HR manager to establish a committee like this and also take action on maybe some of the potential revisions that we might make in the current plan.
Would that include like choosing a different provider?
Potentially, but I imagine that would be something that would come before the board if we were to make a decision like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And one way to kind of look at it is, if you look at the agreement, which is attached as an exhibit to this item, there's a whole bunch of areas that are checked. Those sorts of decisions could not be undone by the administrators. It would be other things. So it could be, advisors to help with, investment decisions or that sort of stuff. But the general structure of the plan is laid out in the agreement, would remain without further board action.
I think I was trying to figure out what deferral meant. So that means that that's not within the powers of the general manager and HR.
That's correct. If that's, I'd have to look where that's checked. But
It's up at the top, the first one.
It's checked multiple times. Eligibility requirements.
I think it could be, and I'm not sure what page you're on, really, because the whole plan itself is the deferred comp, so it's deferring funds to be put into different portfolios. And so currently with Nationwide, we had in the past kind of a set number of options. And with this oversight group working with a financial advisor, there's a lot more additional plans and I think programs that we can now have our employees look at, whether or not it's, before it was like, are you wanting something high cap, mid cap? Now it's based upon your age of retirement. So there's like different fees associated with each of those kind of.
Always lots of fees on those.
Yeah.
Yes.
So page 159, section 3, eligible employees. There's a lot of boxes that aren't checked, but the first one is no exclusions and deferral. So that, I'm confused.
yeah, so the no exclusions, I think, self-explanatory. All employees would be eligible. The deferrals, and I think this is to Melanie's point, contributions to the plan would be from employees making voluntary deferrals as opposed to matches or ER, which I believe is an employer contribution.
It's page 2 of attachment 1.
158.
Maybe I've got it wrong.
One number up.
And that would be consistent with section 2-3 at the top of page 158.
So basically, this gives more power for the employees to have options for their deferred comp.
I would respond a little differently. The actual amendments and all the check boxes, I think, were the same under the current plan. This just shifts the authority of the planned oversight to the general manager and the HR manager, and provides the ability to set up other mechanisms to review the plan's operations.
There's no fiscal impact to the district in terms of.
No.
No direct impact, and there's no impact due to this change. There is, of course, the impact of having the plan, but that's the same as current status.
Okay. I understand it more now.
And have you built in a review period, assessment period to see how it works out?
We had an initial meeting with a consultant. I think we'll plan to report out after we have our first employee meeting once the committee's set up. So provided you approve this recommendation, we'll then take steps to set up an employee group to start taking action on our review.
Okay.
I guess it's fine. I know you read all the time in the papers about things like this going sideways, and then I just would feel bad if I could have made it. The board could have made it.
On that note, one of my colleagues who does ERISA and employee benefits reviewed these documents, and they were supportive of this change based on the flexibility it provides. It's not universal in how these committees are set up, but as a general rule, they're set up as non-BRINAC bodies consistent with the recommendation. In addition, and I think this will probably be coming to future meetings or at least discussions of this, staff has engaged experts in the area to help with some of the decisions. I think Director Christensen, to your point, this is becoming an area that's under more scrutiny, to ensure that appropriate decisions are being made, and bringing on consultants and experts kind of helps make sure that we're meeting that standard.
And providing oversight in it, potentially future presentations as requested in regarding the status.
You pulled it, Carla. You want to make a motion?
I'll move to approve it. I just said it just caught me a certain way.
It was fine
motion-
to.
I'm glad you did. I understand it more now.
Approve Resolution 2502 regarding the plan administrator of the Soquel Creek Water District Deferred Compensation
It's been moved. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Plan.
Opposed? Motion carries. So all you
Hearing me out.
all of you members of the public, we are going to go to a closed session now,
You're all watching.
and it is 6:52. Do you want a few minutes between? 5 minutes? Okay. Oh, okay.
So we're all around